When it comes to the story of Friendship Hall, it can be tricky separating fact from fiction. But I know someone who believes he's got a pretty good handle on its history. Researcher Angelo Besesasing has been plumbing the depths of this building's past. According to Angelo, Friendship Hall was built by Scotsman William John MacLeod in the late 19th century. When he died, the house passed to his son Norman, who left his own eccentric stamp on the building.
Norman was the son of the builder of the house, but he was responsible for modifying it extensively during the 1920s to the 1940s. And part of the renovation was done himself, more specifically the relief work in concrete, which, as you could see here, right, tells much about his experience as a soldier in the British East India Regiment. But it also includes a rather interesting self-portrait of Norman himself, right, wearing East Indian garb, which is set squarely above a lion, an Indian lion, which of course is surmounted by depictions of East Indian architecture on all sides.
Norman MacLeod's imprint on the house is what sets it apart from all other great houses in this country. The building is heavily adorned with manifestations of his abiding romance with Indian culture. Virtually all of the masonry is a canvas for Norman MacLeod's artistic expression. All of this artistry rendered in concrete is a window into the inner workings of the man called Norman MacLeod. In many ways, the physical appearance of Friendship Hall, also known as MacLeod House, accurately reflects the enigmatic nature of MacLeod's personality.
Norman MacLeod died in the 1960s. He was known to have been somewhat eccentric in later years because he converted to Hinduism. He converted the lower portion of his house into an impromptu mandir of sorts, and he was firm in the belief that the daughter of his yard boy was a reincarnation of his dead mother.
That yard boy, Sukan Bikram, was actually more like the manager of the vast estate, responsible for wage payments and rent collection. In a grandiose gesture, Norman MacLeod is said to have bequeathed the property to Sukan and his daughter Sita. It is owed entirely to them that this building still stands. I can tell you, though, that this has been no easy feat. Ultimately, this family sees something very special in this house, something worth saving. Friendship Hall is practically a time capsule. Many of the possessions amassed over Norman MacLeod's lifetime of travels were left right here. They allow for a glimpse into a time when craftsmanship was important. Yesterday's attention to detail is today's obsessive-compulsive disorder. Friendship Hall is a living museum. It's just incredible that not only has the house been preserved, but so many of the artifacts which tell the story of a forgotten era. As with any good story, there is always a but, so here it is. But old houses like this can be expensive to maintain. Even the sturdiest of structures will eventually fail given enough time. It's a little bit shocking to see the back of MacLeod House. Half of it has simply fallen away. Now, the family that lives here, they've done what they can to preserve this magnificent structure. They approached previous governments hoping for some kind of assistance, but none of it was forthcoming. So they weren't able to stave off the ravages of time. They have, however, done a pretty good job of preserving the front portion of the house. And that image really gives you a glimpse of what this magnificent estate house was once like. Enough remains of Friendship Hall to pull together bits of the lush narrative of this great estate house and the larger-than-life man who transformed this edifice into something which escapes the bland definition of the word house. There is an interesting legend associated with Norman MacLeod and this seating area. As all legends go, they're generally made up of 1 part truth, 10 parts Scotch, but this is what the legend says. Norman MacLeod in the evenings would come and sit here, perhaps with a drink in hand. He would be the lord of all. He surveyed, reclining in his Maharaja-like throne as the sun set on his vast estate. Norman MacLeod probably saw the same sunset, but his vista of land is now fragmented by roads, fences and power lines. Norman MacLeod is long gone, but the house holds on thanks in no small part to the Bikram family. Certainly this house is just a shadow of its former self, but it's not doing too badly for a structure that is estimated to be 150 years old.